Good morning everyone, it's Tanya from Tanya Kraus Horsemanship, and as you can see you are joining me for the Millie Diaries episode 7, and she's pretty scooched up to me this morning. She came straight up as soon as I was trying to put the phone on the fence, and she's touched the halter and everything already, so I'm just going to get started pretty much straight away. She's a little agitated this morning. She has been calling out a little bit, and I'm not sure whether she can hear other horses calling out, whether my horses that are down the paddock are a little bothered. They're missing quite a few members of the herd. I've got one down at the colt start. Boogie's down at the colt start with me, just to be ridden. Obviously she's already a ridden horse, she doesn't need colt starting. These two are out here. Rocky has been taken out as well. So there's been a few changes in the herd, so I'm not sure whether they're sort of, and I know my neighbour has gone off to a clinic and she's taken a couple of horses out of her herd as well, so I'm not sure whether there's just calling out going and she's responding to it, or whether she's a little agitated. They're building behind us, quite a big development, and this is one of the first days when the tractors and everything have been sort of starting, and there's men talking and yelling and things like that, so I don't know whether she's just a little bothered because of all the activity. Anyway, she's quite happy to be caught, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started on our regular session. I'll grab my brush. Everything probably feels a little yucky this morning. The brush was left out overnight, so it's a little wet and dewy. I did dry it mostly, but those first couple of strokes were definitely wet and dewy. She's watching some cows run, so she doesn't even know that I'm brushing her at this point. There's all sorts of things going on. The neighbours' cattle are calving at this time of year, so there's been sort of calling out and with the cows and calves. You can see that she's very intently watching what's going on. Now I don't mind, obviously, I don't need her to be 100% focused on me at all times, but when she's focused on the cows like she is now, she's pretty much not even paying attention to what I'm doing, which with any horse obviously, but particularly with a young horse, can be quite dangerous, because if she decides to move, she could very well move in on top of me, not realizing that I'm there, because she's not you know, as you can see, her adrenaline's coming up. She's really starting to focus on the cattle that are moving, and I really don't know that she knows that I'm here. And if she goes to spin or turn or go away or something like that, she could very well knock into me. I like that she, every now and then, she is coming back to me and touching me and things like that, and that's what I want her to do. I want her to remain a little bit more present, head a little bit lower, not as adrenaline fueled. So I'm going to show her the hoof pick, and you can see she's a little agitated this morning. She's a little bit more like, come on, I don't want to do this stuff, I want to look around. Good girl. So I'm going to be very careful when she puts that foot down. As you can see, this lead is quite long, so I need to be very mindful that this lead isn't sort of hanging in such a way that she puts her foot through that loop when she puts her foot down. You need to move over a little, buddy. Good boy. There we go. I just want a little bit more room. And so you can see that she's not standing as quietly as she has been in the past. They're both kind of moving around a little and looking at the activity, which is always a great opportunity to see. It's always a great opportunity to see whether or not. Hey. So you can see there, the cows are actually quite. It's probably 4 or 5 cows, and they're running quite quickly. And they're quite large black cows, so you can see that she's sort of like, what's going on over there? And then because she's not paying as much attention as she has been in the past, when I picked her foot up, she sort of went, oh no, you've got my foot picked up. You know, she's not as engaged and focused on the process as I'd like her to be, which is causing her to be a little bit surprised by the process. When she does finally come back to me and check in, she sort of went, oh no, you've got my foot. So good. So it doesn't have to be perfect today, but I'm at a certain point, you know, we're at the point of picking up all 4 feet and picking them out. I don't want to be distracted from that point. I'm not going to go back in the training and sort of say, oh, well, she's distracted today, so today I'll only pick up her feet, or today I'll only brush her. Like I say, it's going to take a little bit longer and it might not be as pretty, but you know, she needs to understand that this routine or these activities are going to happen whether she's distracted or not. You don't always get perfect conditions, and it's certainly a fantastic opportunity to see whether the training that she's receiving from me is actually being retained and therefore can be used during times of stress, or whether it's just been, you know, because she's been so focused and quiet that she's been able to pick up her feet and get them picked up. So I'm quite happy that even though she's distracted, she's actually listening and able to pick up those feet. And like I say, it's just not going to be as pretty as it has been. Leave her alone, darling. Get up. Good girl. You can see he's pouring as well, so they're just both that little bit agitated. Release of tension there from him with the yawn. Both just a little bit fussy. So we got it done. We got the feet picking up done, which I'm happy about. Fantastic to be working in a little bit of, you know, a little bit of conditions, like I say, that aren't perfect. I don't know whether you guys can hear it on the camera, but we've got a mill near us, and it's a little bit later this morning. It's just after 7. So the mill kicks off at 7 o'clock, and the mill's going, the tractors are going, everything's happening. But like I say, you're right, mate. I just didn't want Rip to go in front of the camera. Like I say, they have been calling out and stuff, which is a little bit of agitation, which isn't usual. So I am going to go and check the other horses before I leave. But yeah, it's all about, you know, this is exactly what it's about. Young horses, seeing if we can use the skills that we've been teaching her when things aren't perfect, when conditions aren't perfect. So I've got a little syringe here. It doesn't have anything in it. I'm just going to go ahead and start to put that in her mouth because we need to start talking about worming to this mare. I did put my fingers in her mouth. I did put my fingers in her mouth. All of a sudden decided that he wants to smell the camera. It's so funny how they start to realise that obviously that's got something to do with what's happening, you know, like I keep talking to the camera, and so he wants to do that. So I'm just going to put it, and so I did do the finger in her mouth. I haven't been doing it as often as I should. I've been sort of forgetting about it. So now I just want to get her used to having something plastic next to her mouth. So I'm going to wait until she relaxes, and then I'm going to take it away. Here's some lick and chew. And take it away. So I'm not putting it in her mouth yet, but I'm just getting her used to. Often when it comes to worming, horses figure out pretty quickly what you're going to do, and she hasn't been wormed. I know that she's only been wormed a couple of times in her life. I don't need a million comments about that. But you know, they get pretty used to pretty quick the fact that I'm going to come in here with two hands and I've got a foreign object in my hand and I'm going to try and stick it in her mouth. So if I can just start to get her that little bit used to, or if I can get her understanding that what I need her to do is just go quiet while it's touching the side of her mouth. Good. Good. I'll go ahead and take it away. Now I'm happy to leave it there. You know, it'd be pretty easy to get wrapped up in trying to, you know, actually stick it in the corner of her mouth. But, you know, the whole point of this series is to show that we've got time. You know, obviously worming is something that I want to get done, but it's also something that I want to teach her to accept in a positive way. She is receiving herbal support in her feed in regards to worming. So, you know, I'm not saying that that's all I'm going to do. Of course, I'm trying to get a chemical wormer into her. But yeah, she is receiving some herbal support in regards to, you know, managing a bit of a worm control situation before I can get this into her. So anyway, tomorrow is another day. We'll work on it. There's a big release of tension from her. And I will go and mix up their feeds. Rip wants desperately to be involved. And unfortunately, I just don't have time. I would love to do it with both of them. But, you know, especially this 2 weeks at the colt start, I'm really big yawns from her there. So, you know, I don't think I'm particularly stressed about the situation because obviously we've been doing the same thing every day. I think there's a bit of an external stress been happening, and which I'll go and find out what it is. Thanks for watching, guys.